Hello, grade 11. We're going to do user-defined methods, and this is the last section where you have to write methods with arrays as parameters. So I'm going to explain to you how to do that and do the activity at the same time. This activity number 2 that we are going to do today has got a whole lot of text files. There they are, from 2000 to 2012, and each text file has got 12 numbers in them, one after the other. The first number represents January, and the second is February's numbers, and they're all road accident numbers for those months of the year, in this case 2005. So I've opened one text file. They all look the same, but they have different numbers, and there's 12 of them. So what we have to do is read from each of those text files, depending on what the user enters, the year 2000 to 2002. And we're going to read from the text file and manipulate, and we read into an array. We're going to read them into an array, and then we're going to sort the array from lowest to the highest, or we want to find the lowest number and the highest number. The average of accidents, the lowest number and the highest number. We won't have to sort it actually. And yeah, they're telling us to write a procedure read data, and then they want us to write 4 functions, one to get the average, one to get the highest, and one to get the lowest. And each time we're going to take a whole array and transfer it to a function. We're going to take, over here we're actually going to use a variable parameter in our procedure, where we're actually going to change this array called AR accidents, ARACC. So we have to, in order to do this, in order to use whole arrays inside parameters, we have to declare what we call a new data type. In this case, we're going to declare a type called TARR accidents, and it's going to be an array 1 to 12 of integers, because we're going to write these 12 numbers from the text file into that array, depending on what year the person chose. But before we carry on, let's go and declare our data type. If you're going to go and move arrays around with methods like this, so for instance here we have a function that's going to receive a whole array, you have to have a type declared, and I'll show you what you're going to do that. Now we're going to go and declare our type. Go to F12. Can you see the word type over there? Just before this form declaration, we're going to make our new type. TARR accidents equals array square brackets 1.12 of integer, and it's as simple as that. We've declared a type, a new data type, TARR accidents, 2 C's. We decide that this TARR accidents is going to be that, it's going to look like that. Then we're going to declare a variable ARR accidents of that type. Now I don't know whether we're going to make it a global variable, so we're using that type there, or not. We might use it as local variables, but for now I'll just put it as a global variable, ARAC. We can declare any arrays being of this type, and we know that it's going to be an array 1 to 12 of integers. So we have to do that in order to move a whole array around, because that's what we're doing in this activity. First of all, we're going to use a procedure called read data that's going to receive AR accidents and make changes to it and send it back, because it says VAR there. It's going to receive the year number. So this procedure read data is going to actually read from the text file into the array called AR accidents. And yeah, we're going at each year's 12, and we assuming that there are going to be 12 values from the text file. So we will use a for loop to read from the text file instead of using a while loop, which would be strange. Anyway, before we carry on, let's go and make our procedures. Well, we know that we have a button click event, okay? There it is there. So we can either write our procedure over here, or we can put them in private. But we'll put them in private because we're not going to use them anywhere else. We're only using this program, so I'll put it under private procedure. And I'm going to use the same list of parameters that we have there. S here none colon string open brackets. Well, we must call it a name. Hey, what is it called? Read data. Read data, and in brackets S here num colon string and then, in fact, we don't even have to have this global variable here. We delete it because it's going to be in our parameter lists. And then semicolon AR accidents colon T accidents. Did I spell it like that? What did I call my type? T accidents. That is the name of the type. So there's my procedure header. T accidents. Close brackets. But it's a VAR parameter, so I must put in VAR there. By the way, you don't have to write in capitals, you can just write VAR there like that too. We know it's a variable parameter because AR accident is going to have new contents added to it. So we highlight it, Control Shift C. Okay, there's a semicolon. Forgot to separate my different parameter variables with semicolons. Highlighted, Control Shift C. Now we've got to read from the text file. We've got to check if S here none that text file exists. If not, file exists in brackets S here none. Join that to a .txt. Then we will show a message and exit. Okay? The file full plus S here none plus does not exist, and then exit. You know that code. So the new thing here for you was to create a data type, an array data type. Right, so if it does exist, we'll read from the text file as per normal. Here are my file, text file, this one line, why not? String, why not? Assign file, assign file, my file. Now you've got to assign it to this string here, and then reset to read, reset my file. Now I'm not going to do while not end of file. I'm going to use my for loop. I'm going to use a for loop because I'm going to read 4 lines. I mean 12 lines. For k equals 1 to 12. I'm going to read the line ln from my file into S1 line, and then I'm going to go and insert into box number K ARR accidents, this AR accidents variable that comes up here. If you don't use a for loop, you have to have a counter to increment the counter and then put it into the array, remember? For me to do it that way, I can. ARACC, that variable, that array, box number K. Like I said, if you don't have a counter I mean, you don't have a for loop, you've got to have our count, increment a counter each time you read from the text file. But we're not doing it with we're reading 12 lines, end of story. And this array, ARRACC, is of this data type, which is an integer data type. So we have to say string to int. Into S1 line. Why? Because when you read from the text file, it's a string, and in this case, this text file has numbers in them, but they look like they are strings. They're represented as strings in a text file, so you have to convert it to an integer, and that's that one. So you read from ARAC, we've done it. So that's that done. Right. Now we must write these functions: average number, high number, low number. So let's write a function called average number. Take note, we have not actually used any of these. We're not actually using it yet. We still got to call these procedures and functions. We're only writing them. Procedure average number, avg num, and it's also receiving an array, AR accidents. I'm not going to use the same name. You can use any name. ARR num colon TARR accidents of the same type, and it's going to return a real number, average. Okay, then high num and low num. Then we have a function called, I'm going to write all the headers now, high num, and it receives an array called ARR, whatever we want to call it, quantity colon T accidents. I'm giving them different names on purpose. TARR accidents and colon integer. That's an integer function, and then we're going to write a function to get the lowest number, the lowest accident, ARR accidents, TAR accidents. Oops, I forgot about my spelling here, guys. This data type is very important there. Must be the same data type as that. So we have those functions. Yeah, you might be wondering what all this is about, but that's because we just named them different things. So let's do the average one first. Control-Shift-C. Now remember that AR nums is going to be the array coming in here, and we are going to go and use a counter to go through that array to find the average. K can be our integer, and we know there's going to be 12 in every single in the array. So I'm going to use K from 1 to 12. And R total, and then the average will be the result of that. We can make a real variable called R average, RAV. Now we're going to go through this array, AR nums, coming into this function called avg num. I'm going to use for K equals 1 to 12. Do begin and end. Well, there'll be a couple of things we're going to do inside there. Now, to get the average number, we need a total. So our total must be set to 0. We know the number of items will be equal to 12. So our total will be summing up each item into of ARR nums, square brackets, K. That array over there. We're totaling up the contents of that array in this method. Have to initialize total to 0, and then you can total it up. Then what else do we have to do? Actually, we don't have to do anything else there. Silly me, I didn't need begin and end. Never mind. What's RAV going to be? RAV will be equal to R total divided by 12. And we haven't finished this function yet. We have to say result equals, what's the result? RAV. rave. I didn't even have to use RAV. I could have just said, well, let's leave RAV out there. Could have just done this and said result equals. But you have to have results so that your function will end. And go back to the calling statement with the right value that we've just calculated there now. Okay, so that's average. What about the highest? Oops, sorry. Go back to the top here. No, we'll do the highest number first. Okay. Highlighted the function high num. Control Shift C. Yeah, man. Why is it not doing it? Oh, it is already. It's already implemented. Okay, high num. It's receiving an array called AR quantity. We know there are 10 boxes there. And we have to find out which is the highest number. So I'm going to go and get my, you don't have to sort anything. We use our highest and lowest algorithm. In this case, the highest algorithm, we make the highest equal to 0. You can also make it equal to the first one. Okay, make it equal to the first one. AR quantity box number 1. And then we're going to go from the second box. Remember, we're dealing with this array here that's coming in here. Whole array is coming in here. And then we're going to go for k equals 2 to 12. Go through the rest of them. Do. And then we're going to check each one if it's higher than the highest. So if ARR quantity box number k is greater than our highest, then we have a new our highest. Not so. We'll make our highest equal to AR quantity box number k, whatever k is at that time. And then what is the result going to be? After the for loop, we say result equals our highest. Done. Now we're going to do the lowest. The function low num. So there's the header. And just so that I don't have to do so much typing, I'm copying and pasting. But instead I'm going to use I lowest. And I'm also going to use the ARR accidents. Have a look at that. ARR accidents is the array that we're dealing with here in this function called low num. We named our array that's going to come in here as ARR accidents of type T AR accidents, and I make an integer variable called lowest. I'll make the lowest equal to the lowest, the first one, and then I'll just change this greater than sign to a less than sign, so that if we go through the rest of the array from 2 to 12, if one of them is less than lowest, then the lowest will be whatever that is, that array box number. Now take note, we're dealing with this array coming in here. It's very important to look at your parameter list and use those things in the parameter list, and then the result will be equal to the lowest. So it's the same concept as the function high num. Low num is just basically the reverse. Use less than sign. Right, now we're going to go and do our button click event, and that's where the trick comes in. In the button click event, we're going to, this shows stats, and we've also got already here the display has to display. They don't give an example of what the display must be. To read data, we're going to find the average. We're going to just display the average and the highest and the lowest, because it says ask the user to enter and then display the average, the lowest and the highest. So we'll display the result of those functions. But before we can do that, we have to call the read, the procedure to read. Okay, see the procedure read data? It's got two variables there. So in our button click event procedure, on our button click event, here it is, btn stats on click event, that one. We're going to read from the edit box, so we go and read that here in, and I'm going to read it as a string, s year colon string. I'll make a variable called syr equals edt year dot text. Then I'm going to go and call procedure accidents. The procedure called read data. How do we use a procedure? We just write the word procedure and then open brackets. And as soon as you open brackets, you'll see the string must come in first, syr, but then we've got to put an array name there. Well, guess what? We're going to declare an array inside this button click event and then put that name in there instead. So arr numbers colon tarr accidents. I'm just calling it arr numbers. And take note of the data type there. I don't know, you don't declare a whole different array, you've got to use the same data type that you declared there so that it can go between all of those other methods. It can be sent to the procedures and be sent to the functions as well. So arr numbers is what we're going to play with in this button click event. So arr numbers is going to be our second parameter, and that's it. See, I declared it there, so I can go and send it off to read data. It's going to come back filled with the numbers for that year that the user chose on the edit box. Then all we have to do is simply call our functions and display it in the rich edit. Red year dot lines dot add average. Let's go and do the average first, equals, and then we're going to say we call our function average. Where's our function average? Oh, there it is. It receives an array and returns a real number. Okay, so going back to the button click event, we know average receives an array and returns a real number. So I'm going to call, is it called AVG? I can't remember what's the name of the function. Oh my word. AVG num. Okay. AVG num, open brackets. Can you see it's got to receive an array there? TAR accidents type. We use this one here, the one that we used inside our button click. That name. Arrow numbers. Because arrow numbers is here. You can't use another array name. You have to use arrow numbers. It's the same data type, so it'll go to AVG num and it'll be fine. But, of course, AVG num is a real number, so we have to say float to string. Now I'm not going to do the FF fixed and all that now because it's quite messy, so we'll just leave it like that, okay? Now we're going to call the next, the high num, red year.lines.add. I'm going to display the next thing now, and we're going to display highest equals. And then we're going to use the function high num. There it is, and it returns an integer, so it'll be int to string, open brackets, high num, and there has to be something inside it. In the parameter list, it must be an array of TAR accidents type. We do not use AR quantity, we use AR numbers, because AR numbers is inside our button click event. It's called something else when it reaches high num or low num or average num, but while we are using it inside our button click event, we refer to it as AR numbers. Okay, now let's see if I've got enough brackets here. Float to string, or if I've got too many brackets. Oh no, I've got to add another bracket because it's rich edit.lines.add, eh? Right, next one will be low num. So it'll be the same thing. So I'm copying and pasting. Lowest equals, and now I'm going to write low num. And that's it. Low num, and the same thing, there's a parameter of AR numbers must go to low num. See, there's a AR access. It's called AR accidents, but we call it AR numbers inside our button click event. When it goes off to AR accidents, to the function low num, it's going to be called AR accidents. When AR number goes to high num, it's going to be called AR quantity. When AR numbers goes to the average, it's called AR nums. So you must remember to keep your variable names correctly written over here. When you're using the functions, use the variables that you have inside your button click event. I'm going to run the program and see if it works. Let's hold thumbs. I'm going to use 2006 and click on show stats. And that's it. Right, so try this by yourself without looking.